Emotional fans and DJs broke down in tears after hearing the final ever Beatles song Now and Then. The track was mainly sung by John Lennon, who was shot dead in 1980, meaning it was the first time generations of fans had heard him performing a new song for decades, and thousands around the world were overcome with emotion. Listening parties have been held all over the world, including in their home city of Liverpool at the Cavern Club and the Beatles' museum on Albert Dock. Tears were shed as the song played. Singer and former Oasis frontman Liam Gallagher tweeted, "Now and then, absolutely incredible, biblical, celestial, heartbreaking and heartwarming all at the same time. Long live the Beatles LGX." BBC Radio 2 listeners, the first to hear it in the UK at 2 p.m, said they were in tears as it played. 1. Gemma from Nottingham said, "Just wow. I got the shivers when I heard the 1-2 at the beginning of the track. That was amazing. I'm actually feeling a little bit emotional now." Another said, "I'm in tears listening to the new Beatles track. Let's hope we have the Fab Four for Christmas #1. A third fan said, "I'm only in my mid-30s, but the Beatles were a massive part of my childhood, with my parents listening to them, and now this new song. I'm in tears, it sounds so haunting yet so beautiful." On X, formerly Twitter, Beatles fan Laura Albus said, "I am crying, you are crying, we are all crying, but also of pure joy." Another fan, April Dwyer, said, "Oh my God, I'm crying. That was amazing." After listening, DJ Lauren Laverne said, "I cried like a baby. And I never cry. It's global treasure, isn't it? I couldn't get over the resonance of the title, to have this final track that's arrived out of the mists of time, which takes us back to the beginning of this amazing story, this story that's become part of our national character. It's the story of Britain in the 20th century, I think. Lads from an industrial city who represent so strongly what Britain did, as we moved from this industrial country to being a place where arts and culture is made. Which is very much what we're about now. This is a place where ideas are born. They represent this story about Britain, about who we all are. They represent us. Obviously, I listen to some very difficult stories when people are talking to me for Desert Island Discs. They're often very emotional episodes, but with this, I actually did cry. I'm quite a softie in real life, so I have a thing where I just can't cry at work. But someone said to me, "I think you might get emotional hearing this." And I do have very deep connections to the Beatles. Macca, 81, who finalized the recording last year with drummer Ringo Starr, 83, said, "When we were in the studio we had John's voice in our ears, so you could imagine he was in the next room in a vocal booth or something, and we were working with him again, so it was joyful." He added on Radio 1, "It's very special for me to be singing with John again." After playing the track on Radio 6 Music, DJ Craig Charles said, "Craig Charles, there you go. The closing chapter for arguably the greatest band in rock history. The track's been 45 years in the making. John Lennon started writing it back in 1978, and it was finally completed this year. But I'm not quite sure if it is the end of the road, because with AI now they can visit loads more of their forgotten material. I mean, for me, that has just sent goosebumps all over me." After introducing the track on Radio 6 Music, DJ Craig Charles said, "Craig Charles, there you go. The closing chapter for arguably the greatest band in rock history. The track's been 45 years in the making. John Lennon started writing it back in 1978, and it was finally completed this year, but I'm not quite sure if it is the end of the road, because with AI now they can visit loads more of their forgotten material. I mean, for me, that has just sent goosebumps all over me. After listening, DJ Lauren Laverne said, "Obviously I listen to some very difficult stories when people are talking to me for Desert Island Discs. They're often very emotional episodes, but with this, I actually did cry. I'm quite a softie in real life, so I have a thing where I just can't cry at work. But someone said to me, I think you might get emotional hearing this. And I do have very deep connections to the Beatles. Does it sound like a classic? Now and then. The pressure around a new Beatles song is almost like nothing else, when you think it will be compared to all their other seismic hits, songs everyone knows that have transcended generations. Now and then starts off strongly with John Lennon's vocal noticeably clearer than when he sounded a bit ghostly on Free as a Bird in 1995. Thanks to the improvements in technology, his vow that if I make it through, it's all because of you is a lyric which remains in my head long after the song ends, like so many other Lennon lines over the years. This is the chance to hear him again, Lennon's unmistakable voice recorded on a cassette at home whilst looking after son Sean. Fans of a certain age, myself included, may even find it emotional to listen to in 2023. It's not just Paul and Ringo with so much invested in the band. But the song is not perfect. It was an unfinished demo when Lennon recorded it and not a Beatles song they had worked on together in the studio. And so if anything, the finished product feels a little Sir Paul's love song to his own band. Sir Paul has added strings to the mix as well as slide guitar in the style of bandmate George, who is no longer around. This may be an attempt to make the song more monumentalist to fit the occasion of the last ever Beatles song, and it is successful up to a point, but this was never going to be their greatest song. The song's poignant lyrics also now could reflect how Paul feels about losing Lennon. I want you to be there for me, always to return to me, he sings. A bit like with my overuse of puns in writing, there will be some who think Paul and Ringo, both now in their 80s, should have let it be and left this demo unrecorded. But the band have come together one last time in a roundabout way, and it's hard to begrudge them this moment, especially hard-working Paul, after everything they have done and everyone they have inspired to make music.